Okay, I'll call to order. First of all, I'm calling to order the closed council meeting, the special closed council, and I will recess it until following the open general purpose and closed general purpose committee meetings. Now I'll call to order the general purposes committee, the open one. May I have a motion on the minutes? Moved and seconded. Any discussion, errors, or omissions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Two items of business. First of all, the local general and school election appointment of election officer. Tony, anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add, Your Worship. Move the recommendation.
So that's moved and seconded. For those I didn't get Tony's microphone on in time, but anyway, he said he had nothing to add. Any discussion on this item? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And that brings us to the rodenticide on city-owned property in Richmond, the update on that. Chad Paulin, we've read your report. Is there anything to add to that?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, just a minute. Chad said there was nothing to add. So that's been moved and seconded. Councillor McNulty.
Question, good report, Chad. Thank you very much. On our GP 15, Your Worship, people are going to ask us about the educational thing, what they can do, because I think they'll see the city is not using them either, okay, and they won't use them. So I'm very concerned about the page 13, the general educational resources that we might put out, and when can we sort of get out like a press release and say, you know, here's 5 things you can do if you have a rodent problem.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, we do have several resources already on our website, including an informational video. We also have access to knowledgeable staff 24/7 through our hotline, and we do offer on-site services through information in person with staff through exterior building assessments as well. So there's a wealth of options for residents.
Well, then I just hope the media would pick it up and maybe reinforce and if you wish, regurgitate that stuff back out to the public. Thank you. Good job.
So the site visits used to be Vancouver Coastal Health. Now city staff will just do that and talk to the homeowner or whatever.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Let's see now. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, 2 questions. One kind of follows in line with the last theme there on educational resources. So I know Mr. Paulin is very familiar with Mitchell Island, so sometimes what I've noticed is property owners, commercial, industrial spaces, they put the exact traps that we're talking about here with the city facility sites banning them, but many sites are putting them on the outside of their parking lot or like the outer edge of the property, not even adjacent to the building. And what they end up being is adjacent to the natural areas, the parks, the waterfront. Are our educational resources helping to address those? Like when we have a site visit for some other purpose, do our city staff flag those sites to then receive the educational material?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, absolutely. On an as-needed basis, if that were to come up, we would engage with the commercial vendor as needed and look for opportunities such as labeling as well. Labeling on these boxes would go a far way, but we do try to interact as much as possible and provide education to commercial business owners in that case.
Great. Thank you. My final question is related to the timeline of the extension of the ban. So what we're being presented with today is a ban that goes until January 31st, 2024. From my recollection, no other municipality in BC, and I think there's over 20 now, that have done similar bans had any timeline to it. So they banned them, and they can always change the ban, and they have exemptions like we do in Richmond. But can staff comment on? And I know in the report it mentions that the province is going to finish their 18-month ban and then do some unveiling of information. But it not already clear that we're not going to go back to using these? It's clear that, and the evidence is there. There's 15-year studies in Western Canada on barn owls that have consumed prey, that have consumed this rodenticide product. So do we really need the timeline, or can we just ban it outright?
The Chair to Councillor Wolf, certainly with the ban, the intent was to collect as much information as possible. And right now, staff thought the best way to do that was to proceed with caution, to gain a better understanding, to realize what a full-out ban would implicate. So right now, staff are comfortable with including the timeline. That would include a review of provincial scientific assessment. And then in a future report, consider an all-out ban, as well as consider a ban on private property that would be tabled in the future for council's consideration. But right now, a timeline was recommended.
I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering if we get to the same point, or something that is probably more likely. I mean, let's face it, with the history that we've had here, it probably will continue after January of 2024. I wonder if we don't want to say that this rodenticide is banned, and then just give you instructions to review it January of 2024. You know, I think you get to the same point, but kind of a different emphasis on it. Anyway, we'll see what people have to think about that.
Well, I would say, Your Worship, if you're making that amendment motion, I would second it.
No,
Otherwise, I would make the motion to strike out the date at the last part of the recommendation here. So the last three things.
No, I'm really not, because that's kind of, it's the counter to what's on the table. So I just want to get some more comments on that.
Okay.
Councillor Hobbs, you had your hand up?
Yes, but my question was just asked.
Okay. Councillor Steves. Harold?
Yeah, thanks. My computer's acting up, so I'm not sure what's happening here. Anyway, I wanted to draw attention to, I think it's one of the attachments in terms of knocking down of houses. It's extremely important that we get to the people doing demolition. And I'm just wondering if we can't get something at our to staff when there's get notices of demolitions and removing materials from a house when they're knocked down. If they get prior knowledge they're going to be knocked down, to make sure that they trap the rats first. Because what happens is almost every house has got rats in some hedge someplace, and when you knock a house down, then they move next door. About 2 years ago, we lost about 6 houses, all in 1 or 2 blocks, and they all headed to our place. We've got resident owls, and it took at least 1.5 years to 2 years to kill them all off. And eventually they did. They wiped them right out. When we had snow this winter, there wasn't a single rat track in the snow. That's the best way to see them, because they run around in the snow and leave their footprints. But when they knocked those houses down, they were everywhere. So I think it's really important that we get that message across to try and trap the rats and deal with them before they knock the houses down. Or definitely, especially when they knock them down.
Any comments, Judd?
Through the chair, that is exactly what we were finding through the last year, is that demolitions in particular, once a building goes down, then there's a small spike in complaints from the public. So it is included as a recommendation moving forward.
Okay. Now, Councillor McNulty, I think you were the mover, weren't you? Would you be content to kind of reconfigure this just to simply say, just a minute, the city ban rodenticides on city-owned property in Richmond, semicolon number 2, that the matter be reviewed in 2 years' time? Okay, so that's the mover, and the seconder. Is everybody okay to reconfigure that way? Otherwise, we kind of have to vote it down and then redo this. Okay, so we'll take it that it's the revised form. Madam Clerk, you've got that? All right, so to have a ban, then a review in 2 years. All those in favor? Any opposed? So that's carried. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we're now adjourned.